Here's a little video about how I think about creating the ideal buying state within a person, within an audience. It's my little cheat sheet that I have available to me as I'm even putting together a webinar, a presentation, those sorts of things, kind of how I think through the process. So I'll lay it out, the whole thing out for you to show you then what the cheat sheet looks like. And so creating the ideal buying state, the way I think about it is, of course, we're getting people ready to buy. And the reasons that people buy, why they're ready to buy, is because we have something put together that matches their internal drive, something that matches their sense of agency or autonomy, the ability to take action, and something that has them focused on the right things without paying attention to the wrong things. So those are the three things that I'm seeking to activate within them that already exist in there. And so the first piece, the way that I think about this, is personal congruence. And what I'm looking to do is make this shift from them appearing congruent to actually ownership of congruence. This means owning who they are, what they want, and the resources they possess. I'll get into a little bit of that in a minute. The next piece that I think about is they need to have problem clarity. And so we're helping them make this shift from superficial clarity to profound clarity about their problem. And then you can see that those two things come together when a person is really owning who they are, the resources they have, and what they want, and they're clear on the problem that they have, then that activates their own internal drive. It's not our job to import that into the situation. We just activate what's already available to us. The next piece is path certainty. Certainty about the path. And usually the shift that I'm thinking about trying to help people make is from conformity to inevitability. Usually the path that people are on is some form of conformity instead of being on the exact path to get the thing that they already told us that they want. And so you can see then when somebody's in high level of personal congruence and they are certain about the path, then they have the greatest agency, the greatest autonomy to actually take actions. And then when people are clear on their problem and the exact path to resolve that problem or change that situation, their focus is really sharp. It's easy to know what to pay attention to and what to ignore. And so that's what I'm looking to do with this entire process, is help people be ready to buy because something is in alignment with who they are, the problem they have, and the path to getting it resolved. And so on the outside here, we have 9 different things that are the factors for setting the conditions for all of this. And this is where I focus most of my attention, on these 9 factors as I'm doing a webinar, doing a presentation. I often have the picture of that in front of me so that I'm looking like, okay, how well am I hitting each of these 9 things? And so let's talk about what they are. And so in the area of personal congruence, the ownership that we're looking for is for them to own the identity shift that they want to make. Who am I now? Who am I wanting to become? And I think it was Freud that said, like, the strongest force inside of the human psyche is to remain consistent with our image of ourselves. And so this is part of making a change, is always that identity shift. And then anybody who is achieving less than they want, which is all of us at one time or another, or less than we know we're capable of, because we have untapped potential. And so when a person is willing to own that identity shift, the potential they have to make it, whatever resources they have available to them, and then the undeniable vision of what they want them from the inside, not something that we impose upon them, but what do they actually want. And so when they are willing to own those three things, to me, that is the process of being in greater personal congruence. Then with problem clarity, pretty easy to break that down as well, is that a person knows they have a problem if they're having painful symptoms. And so the painful symptoms are the first place where we can connect and keep reconnecting. And if they have a problem, it's not resolved. It's because there are unseen causes. There's something happening that they don't understand that we can help them understand. And so when we're able to describe a person's situation better than they can themselves, they automatically credit us with knowing the solution. And so the third part of that is, what are the unavoidable consequences? If you keep doing the thing that you're doing, what are the unavoidable consequences where these painful symptoms continue to get worse because these unseen causes are not being addressed? And then the final piece is path certainty. And so for any path to work, it only works within a set of required conditions. For anything to be inevitable, required conditions have to be met. It depends on what the exact situation is, but those conditions need to be met. And then, of course, there are mandatory decisions. If we refuse to make the required decisions, the decisions that must be made for this inevitability, then we can't expect to get the result. And then what I always like to build into here is, what are the unfair advantages that this person, this audience that I'm speaking to, what do they bring to the table, and making sure to call those things out. And so then you can see the final view is, as I'm putting together a presentation, thinking about things, I'm always reviewing, okay, what are the identity shift things here? What's the untapped potential, the undeniable vision that I know that person has for themselves, or at least the person I'm speaking to has for themselves? What are the symptoms of their problems? What's causing them that they don't understand that I can shed light into? And what are the unavoidable consequences if they don't do anything about it? What are the required conditions? How can I help them set those required conditions? How can I make their mandatory decisions as easy as possible and leverage everything that they bring to the table? And so that's my cheat sheet for how I think about how to create the ideal buying state, which results in people who are ready to buy for their own reasons, because we've tapped into their internal drive, their internal sense of agency, autonomy over the situation, and helping them to get focused on what matters most while ignoring everything else.